What are the pros and cons of geomaxing? What are the pros and cons of relocating to a different country? Because really, geomaxing, when we say geomaxing, we're not talking about going to a different state. Like if you live in the US to move to a different state, you could try that. But the marketplace is pretty much the same anywhere you go in this country. I mean, there are some differences between the major cities and like small towns, but for the most part, it's all the same thing due to social media and so on. So when we're talking about geomaxing, we're talking about going overseas to a different country, uh, primarily a less wealthy country, primarily a developing country in South America, Southeast Asia. Those are the two main places guys tend to talk about. But you can also go to Eastern Europe. In some cases now, you can even go to Western Europe. But what are the pros and cons of doing that? Of getting on a plane and saying, okay, I'm gonna go overseas. So first of all, there are different types of geomaxing. There is short-term geomaxing. You get on a plane, you go overseas for a vacation. Okay, go for a week or two. That's basic geomaxing. What are the pros and cons? The pros, you already know what they are. You go there, you have a good time, easy to meet a lot of women. You can really just go all out and just bang as many women as you can in that short amount of time. It's a new culture, you get to meet new people. Those are the pros. The cons, really, maybe you'll spend a little bit of money. Right? You'll spend like 3-4 grand. That could be money that you could have saved, you could have used to invest in the market, to start a business, whatever. But you'll spend a little bit of money, like 3 or 4 grand, okay? But usually when we talk about geomaxing, we're talking about more long-term geomaxing, okay? We want it to be sort of a permanent or at least consistent solution. We don't want geomaxing to be something you do for a few days, then you go back to your miserable existence, right? It has to be sort of a permanent solution, or at least consistent. At least you're able to travel every couple of months, okay? The pros are you add excitement to your life right away. Right away, you have something you're looking forward to. It's like you in the States, you're working a job, and maybe you like it, maybe you don't, or maybe you have friends, maybe you don't, maybe you have a social life, or maybe you don't. And it's kind of like, okay, you're gonna have to do this the next 2-3 months, and then you get to go on a trip. You get to go on a trip to Mexico. You get to go on a trip to Colombia. You're looking forward to it, right? It adds excitement to your life. It gets you motivated. You're more likely to get up, go to work. You're more likely to maintain your fitness, maintain your diet. You're just more excited overall, and overall you're happier, right? That's the first thing. So the pros to geomaxing don't just have to do with actually going there. It has to do with the whole shift in your mind state, looking forward to the actual trip. That's like the first benefit, okay? uh, Second benefit, of course, you go there. When you get there, new culture, as I said earlier, you're meeting new people, you get to have fun, you get to enjoy the food, the culture, and most likely it's going to be an easier marketplace from a sexual standpoint. Easier dating marketplace, right? Some guys, as soon as they geomax and they get to a new location, the whole treatment that they get from women is better. Some guys literally go from average to way above average, and they get treated a lot better. They get treated like a king, right? Some guys. Not most guys. Most guys will still get some type of resistance, but for the most part, it will be a lot better experience. Okay, you'll meet people, you'll make friends, and you'll get laid a lot, as much as you want, depending on how you want to do it. Do you want to date, or do you want to pay to play? Whatever it is that you want to do, it will be easier just being overseas. Now, what are the cons of doing that? The cons of doing that would be you exposing yourself, like the same way you get to see a new culture, you're also exposing yourself to new people. There's a level of safety that you have to take into account, a level of safety or lack thereof. Is it a safe place? Is there a lot of crime? You have to watch your back as a foreigner in that country. Okay, so that's something you have to look out for. It's just the additional risk that you may be taking just being in a new place, whether you by yourself or you with other people. The language, there may be a language barrier, so it may take you time to learn that language. Now, in the end, that's a good thing because you'll end up learning a new language, but in the process, you have to learn that, and that can be frustrating, can be annoying that you have to learn a new language and you're speaking to people half the time they don't understand what you're saying or you don't understand what they're saying. So that's a process. It may take a few years or a few months to just get your feet wet, but it's a process. That's something that you have to learn. And then what else? In terms of employment, you may have to quit your job here in the US. You may have to put a stop to your career prospects or your career goals, and if you're gonna move overseas, you may not have access to the same jobs, the same amount of money, the same income. But some guys will be able to find a way to deal with that. If you make money online, you make money online, or you work remotely and your job is okay with that, or you create content, you can create content wherever you are. In fact, a lot of guys actually go overseas and they create content overseas and they make a lot of money from that, right? There are ways around that, but it is something you have to think about because it is a big change, okay? A lot of guys hesitate to geomax for that very reason. Like, they have a career here and they don't want to give that up, just travel just to get laid. So that's something you have to think about. And then what else? The other thing is simply the fact that you have to leave the place where you were born and grew up. For those who were born here in the US and grew up in the US, they have to live here and maybe move permanently to a different location, a different culture. There's a downside to that. You may not be completely okay with that, and it is a downside, okay? But in the end, you're doing it for your own happiness. You're doing it because the market is kind of messed up here. You're doing it for your future. So in the end, I think it's worth it when you look at the pros and cons. But there are ways to go about it. It would be preferable to save a lot of money before you go. It would be preferable to have online income so that you can still get paid while you're over there. It would be preferable to go into a country where you enjoy the culture, you like the culture, the women. There are ways to make sure that it works, that it succeeds. You just gotta be strategic and come up with a plan. You can't just get on a plane. Like some guys, they just wanna get up and get on a plane and go overseas. No, you need a plan. You need to know the country you're going to, the culture, the people, the cost of living, how much money you'll need, and all that stuff. But in the end, I think it's definitely something that can really make the lives of so many guys better just by having that as a goal. Radically changes everything. It makes you more excited. You're no longer like, oh, I'm just gonna work this 9-to-5 job for the next 40 years and retire and die. No, the whole prospect changes. Everything changes. So yeah, those are the pros and cons. If I'm missing something, let me know. I may make a follow-up video to this one.